Bounty Hunter missions in LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga. Yesterday, we're going to be ranking all 20 of the Bounty Hunter missions. Now if you're unaware, Bounty Hunter missions are levels, where a character is hidden, and you have to find them within a certain time limit. With all that said, let's get into it. Okay, so coming in at number 20, we have Ben Kenobi. Now you have to find him in the Sandcrawler from episode 4 chapter 2, so we're already off to a great start. Now the Sandcrawler interior is annoying for a couple of reasons. Firstly, there are the Jawas. Now when you're in a bounty hunter mission, all of the original trilogy bounty hunters get added to your party, and some of these characters are droids. You've got IG-88 and Forlom. Now the issue with droids is that Jawas exist, and in LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga, the Jawas will walk towards droids and stun them using their zapper, and this is really annoying because it means that if you're playing as a droid character, you can't move, you can't do anything, and when you've got the time limit for completing the level, being slowed down by Jawas really is not helpful. Now the second issue is actually where Ben Kenobi is hidden, because you go through the Sandcrawler and you go through each room, but you never actually see him. Now when I was playing, I got to the end of the Sandcrawler and lowered the ramp, and went outside, and he just wasn't there, which was confusing. But if we rewind, where do you guys think he's hidden? Because it's actually quite sneaky. He's hidden away on the right here, tucked all the way into a small alcove. Now you can't actually see this because the camera angle doesn't allow the camera to move that far. And this for me is one of the reasons this level is so annoying, because you've got all the hassle with all the Jawas, and then you also have the actual struggle of finding him. Maybe I'm being slightly too harsh, considering that I don't like the normal story mode version of this level. I think it's a very long level, and quite a boring level normally, but that is why this level is number 20 on our list. Coming in at number 19, we have Princess Leia. Now this takes place in episode 4 chapter 4, and you spawn halfway through the level, in the room with the winder. Now the reason this level is number 19 is because it doesn't really play any differently to the story mode level. In fact, to get to Princess Leia, you follow the story mode level. Same corridors, go up the lift, pull the levers, open the prison cell corridor, and you'll find Leia just opposite where she is in the story mode level. And that's about it. So it isn't really overly original, interesting, or challenging in any way. Coming in at number 18, we have Rebel Trooper. Now Rebel Trooper takes place on Kashyyyk, and I've decided to put this level at number 18 for exactly the same reason as the last level, because once again, you are basically just following the story mode path. Rebel Trooper is up in some trees, and this once again is somewhere you have to go in the story mode level, because one of the Wookiee warriors that's captured is up there. The only thing that makes this one slightly more interesting is the fact that you need to switch to Boba and use his jetpack to fly over a gap. This is the only thing you have to do that deviates from the main storyline level, which I guess you could say is slightly more entertaining than having to pull some levers to open some doors that are opposite the end of the normal level, but only slightly. Coming in at number 17, we have R2-D2. Now finding R2 takes place in episode 4 chapter 1. Now this level doesn't really follow the main storyline at all. You actually end up going through a bounty hunter only door, and then walking down some corridors, and that is quite literally it. As soon as you enter the bounty hunter door, it points you directly towards where R2 is. You've then just got to simply build a door, and he'll be behind it. So it's a fairly boring level, and fairly tame, and not a whole lot happens. So that's why it's number 17. Coming in at number 16, we have Jar Jar Binks. Now Jar Jar Binks takes place in episode 1 chapter 2. Now you spawn in just after the second room, when you're in the main swamp area, and if you are familiar with the level, you can most likely assume why Jar Jar will be, because there's an MTT that has had one of its guns replaced with silver Lego, meaning that you need to use a thermal detonator to destroy it. Once you've done that and gone inside, you will see Jar Jar standing there. Now the thing about this level for me is that it's very predictable, because there aren't really a whole lot of other hiding places that Jar Jar can be in this area. Now I suppose you've got the small cave, but I'm sure if he was there you'd be able to see him instantly. I think for me the thing about bounty hunter missions is there needs to be a balance between not being too hard to find, not being too obvious like Jar Jar here, and also not just being the story mode of the level played with bounty hunters, like the last two levels we've looked at. In at number 15, we have Chewbacca. Now Chewbacca takes place in episode 4, chapter 3, towards the end of the level. Now the reason I put this one at number 15 is because of a very strange interaction that happens with a door, and I kind of got trolled a bit when I was trying to look for Chewbacca. Off to the right, when you get into the main courtyard-like area, is a cinema that's advertising LEGO Star Wars. Now I assumed that Chewbacca would be in there, because it would be a cool use of IG-88, who is able to access droid panels as well as bounty hunter panels, However, he wasn't, and upon going in the door, now the door does open, and you can walk in. However, you can't actually get into the cinema. You'll instead just be reset outside of the door, which is quite weird and quite interesting. Chewbacca is instead hidden behind a door that's glowing, as if to suggest you can use the Force on it. But you can't use the Force because you're bounty hunters, and instead you just shoot the door and it explodes. Which is honestly quite crazy and chaotic. Coming in at number 14, we have C-3PO. Now you have to find C-3PO in Bespin. Now obviously being Bespin, and being replaced where 3PO gets destroyed, I went into this level, assuming that the way you would get him is by rebuilding him. I thought that would be quite a cool way of doing it, having to go and find the Open Workshop, and then physically rebuilding 3PO. Which that took a long time, which led to me running out of time and failing the mission. I then eventually got there, I went to rebuild 3PO, and then, well, nothing happened. So I guess I was wrong there. Turns out the actual way to find him is by going into a lift and using a bounty hunter panel, which will then take you up to the roof of Bespin, where 3PO will be waiting for you. The reason this level is ranked where it is more likely me being bad at the game, rather than the actual mission itself being annoying, because once you know where you're going, and once you know where the lifts are, it's a fairly short mission. What I will add, however, is that 3PO's icon does not appear or light up until you've taken the lift upwards, meaning you don't actually know how close you are to him until you're literally right next to him, which can be a bit misleading. In at number 13, we have Lando Calrissian. Now just like C-3PO, you have to find Lando in Bespin, and you spawn in at a slightly later point compared to C-3PO. Now Lando is one of the ones where you just follow the story mode of the level. You just have to finish off the outside section, and then go inside, follow the corridor along, around the corner, and then you'll find Lando. What I like about this mission though, is actually the toxic gas mechanic, because the only way you can get through this is by playing as a droid character, and this is a very underused mechanic. It only appears in a couple of levels. It's in episode 3 chapter 2, towards the end, and it's also in episode 5 chapter 6. But yeah, just a niche mechanic that I quite like. Now coming in at number 12, we have Yoda. Now you have to find Yoda on Endor, in the Ewok village, and this is another case of me being really bad at the game, because I started following the story mode, and building some of the bridges. I then got completely stuck on the puzzle where you have to push the electric block around. I started for whatever reason trying to jump up to the levers, and then flying up to them using Bob's jetpack. What you're supposed to do is use a small character to go through a hatch, which I probably should have realised meant that we're not supposed to be going that way, given that we don't have any small bounty hunters. Now this actually meant that I ran out of time, and had to restart the level, and upon doing so, figured out that you have to go left instead of right, because I thought this was the normal level spawn, but no, it's not the normal level spawn, it's slightly later than the normal level spawn. That aside, once you actually see Yoda, you have to then get to him, which involves using Bob's jetpack to fly across the gap. This gap is actually fairly precise in the timings, and it took me a couple of tries, but once I got across, that ended the level. So my advice for this one is very simple. Do not go the incorrect way, it makes this one so much easier. In at number 11, we have Shakti. Now you have to look for Shakti outside of the Jedi Temple, and as soon as you spawn in, it's fairly obvious where she'll be. In fact, you can see her quite early on. She's standing up above the door. So all that you need to do is just walk to the right of the screen, blow up the Lego, take the grapple point onto the kind of plateau area, and then just jump up to where she is, and they'll end the level. It's quite a simple one, this one. Coming in at number 10, we have Luke Skywalker. Now you have to look for Luke in Mos Eisley, and he's actually in quite a cool place. He's standing on top of the ship, which is called the Dowager Queen. It's the massive tool that can be seen sticking out of the ground that's crashed into the floor. Now the way you actually get up there is by moving it by building a winder. You then push the winder, which will push the ship more upright, which will then knock off the pieces to build the grapple point. And then there'll be a grapple point that you have to use to actually get up to Luke, which is honestly quite cool. It's definitely more interesting than him just being in some random room somewhere. Coming in at number 9, we have Mace Windu. Now you have to look for Mace Windu towards the end of the Droid Factory level, episode 2, chapter 3. Now he's actually in a completely different room, meaning his icon will not appear until you actually enter that room that he's in, which meant that, like quite a few of the ones on this list, I went completely the wrong way, and got to the end of the room and realised he wasn't there. In fact, I went so far out of the way, I used Bobby's jetpack to fly into an area you're not even supposed to be able to get into in the bounty hunter mission, and realised that he wasn't there at all. He's actually in a bonus area, which you can see the entrance to fairly early on in the level. I just didn't walk in there for some reason. But anyway, once you're actually in there, you've got a load of lasers making a kind of maze, and you simply have to disable the correct lasers to get over to him. It's fairly simple once you actually get in there. It's just that it took me quite a while to figure out where Miss Windu was. Overall, the laser puzzle is quite cool, so that's why this one's number 9. Now coming in at number 8, we have Han Solo. Now you have to look for Han Solo in Echo Base, and he's fairly early on in this level. You spawn at the regular level spawn, and just have to walk forward down a corridor a bit until you'll find him. Now what I really like about this level is actually the way that you have to get to him, because he's tucked away in a small alcove fairly high up a wall, and what you have to do is build the cart that normally explodes the wall, make sure the cart just goes around the room in a circle, and then using Bobber specifically, jump on the cart, and then use his jetpack to fly it over to Han Solo. And to me, I just thought that was very cool and a very clever use of mechanics. In fact, when I was playing the level myself, I actually walked out of the room he was in, because I didn't even realise there was an alcove in the wall. But yeah, overall just a fun one. Coming in at number 7, we have Admiral Akbar. Now just like Han Solo, you have to find Admiral Akbar in Echo Base. Well, this one's interesting, because you end up going into a bonus room that has a score times 2 multiplier, which there are a few of these in the game, but not many. That isn't actually relevant to the mission at all, but it's just something that I found quite interesting. Anyway, Admiral Akbar himself is in a back tank, and you have to drain it to actually be able to finish the mission. Now what I like about this mission is not only him being in the back tank is quite cool, and the location is cool, the room reminds me a lot of Star Wars Battlefront 2015, because there were loads of back tanks in that game, and I'm very nostalgic for that game. So yeah. Not really sure if this mission is ranked as high because of the actual mission, or just because of Battlefront 2015. Coming in at number 6, we have Qui-Gon Jinn. Now Qui-Gon Jinn takes place in Episode 1 Chapter 1, Negotiations, and he really isn't difficult at all to find. I'm assuming much like the actual level in the game, this mission also serves as a kind of tutorial on what bounty hunter missions are and how they work, because he is quite literally just down the corridor on the left, so he's really easy to find and really quick to find. However, the level itself does quite a good job of explaining what bounty hunter missions are, how the icon system works, where it lights up the closer you are to the character, and also reminds you that the droid bounty hunters can use droid panels. So yeah, really simple mission, but really good tutorial for bounty hunter missions in general. Okay, so coming in at number 5, we have Luminara. Now finding Luminara is incredibly easy and incredibly quick. She's just locked up behind the door off to the right, and you have to use a bounty hunter character to unlock her, which luckily for us, we have quite a few of. Now what I like about this one is that situationally it's just quite funny, because all of the Jedi are invading the arena, and Luminara has somehow gone and got herself trapped behind a door. Also quite a good use of level scenery, because having her literally trapped behind a locked door makes sense. So yeah, overall just quite a funny one, this one. Coming in at number 4, we have Commander Cody. Now you have to find Commander Cody in Episode 3 Chapter 3, which is actually where you have the General Grievous boss fight. Now he's fairly easy to find, just a straightforward jump across some platforms to destroy a massive wall to then jump up into an alcove where he actually is. I just like this one because I like the overall level that it's in. I think the Grievous boss fight is quite cool, even though you don't actually do it in the bounty hunter mission. Although now that I think about it, maybe it would have been more interesting if Cody was in the building at the top on the bridge. You can go in the building where Palpatine speaks to Grievous in the film. I feel like that could have been quite a cool location to put him. But anyway, yeah, it's a nice simple one, in a level that I really like. Coming in at number 3, we have Kit Fisto. Now Kit Fisto is incredibly easy to find. I think out of every mission, you can find him in the shortest time, because as soon as you spawn, his icon is basically fully lit up already. Once again, if you know anything about this level, you can guess exactly where he'll be, because he is in the same place as a mini-kid, in the regular version of the level. Coming in at number 2, we have Queen Amidala. Now finding Queen Amidala is also relatively quick, like the last few we've looked at. However, what I like about this one specifically is that you have to use Boba to actually get across to where she is. If you try and use anyone else, you won't actually be able to find her. If you try going below her on the floor, you won't be able to get to her. You have to use Boba specifically to fly across to a balcony and then across to where she actually is. Which I just thought having an entire mission based around him specifically was quite cool. And finally, coming in at number 1, we have Ki-Adi-Mundi. Now you have to look for Ki-Adi-Mundi in Episode 3 Chapter 2. And what I like about this one is just the amount of different times the game throws you off. Because logically you'd think at first that he would be inside one of the lifts, So you go ahead and use the droid characters to unlock them, and he just isn't there. So you then go up inside of the main ventilation area, and look for him. And where he is in the most irrelevant location ever. He is so far left, it is insane. And I just found that incredibly funny. It's just Lego Ki-Adi-Mundi with his moulded long head that doesn't actually exist as an actual Lego piece. The official Lego Ki-Adi-Mundi uses 2 pieces instead of just his long Lego head that they use in the games. All the way off to the left, hidden behind some beams. Yeah, I just found that funny. And well, yeah, that is it. All of the badge hunter missions ranked, all 20 of them. Be sure to let me know your thoughts in the comments, because I have a feeling this list might be fairly divisive, and there might have some different opinions around. If you enjoyed this video, the video on screen now is another ranking video, where we go ahead and take a look at every extra in LEGO Star Wars: The Complete Saga, and rank them all. Other than that, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all later.